Hi, welcome to The Coaching Game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight my guest is Gail Blanke. Welcome, Gail.
I'm happy to be here, Laurie.
I'm thrilled that you're here. I have to tell you, I have known Gail for, we were trying to figure it out. I think it's been like over 3 years.
Yep.
And I met her because she does this amazing thing every Monday morning, if you can believe that. Every Monday morning she does something amazing. And it's called the Monday Morning Motivator. And I've been reading them faithfully for at least 3 years, and I really think it might be more than that. And lo and behold, Gail has written a book and put them all together. Not all of them, because she's done, what, 300?
It'll be 600 pretty soon.
600, okay. So
600 weeks.
This is volume 1, yeah. And what she's done is compile a couple of, I guess your favorites, or the ones that you like the best?
A collection of people's favorites, motivators from the last 6 years.
And we'll give them an idea of what they are. This is available on Amazon, and you can check it out. We're going to talk about that, but I'm so thrilled that we're starting out the year with the Monday Morning Motivators, because this is such a fantastic way to start your year. So if you have anyone who made a few resolutions and maybe hasn't already quit, or if you just want to get somebody started on, because her tagline is, how good could we make it? So it's like, how good could you make it the year of 2015? And this will keep you going throughout the entire year. But we'll talk about that. Let me tell you a little bit about the show. Points of View is based on, the Coaching Game is based on Points of View, which is a marvelous coaching tool, one of the most brilliant I've ever seen, designed to bring right brain and left brain thinking together. And it consists of 65 cards. And what I usually ask my guests to do is to choose a card. And Gail chose Choice, which is a very colorful card, kind of like you.
I like that.
Kind of very colorful. And we're going to talk about choice. But I think first, what we really want to know is, how did this get started? What made you think, well, Monday mornings we all need motivation, but what made you think?
Well, you know, there is so much bad stuff happening out there. I mean, it's sort of man's inhumanity to man. It's a lot of hard negativity that is just covering us up, the news media, everything. And my mission in life has always been to enable people to know that they get to make it good. Now, there is stuff outside of our control, but there's a lot that's within it, too. So I am absolutely committed to enabling people to go from asking the question, how bad could it get? I mean, I think this is bad, wait. Forget that question and say, okay, how good could I make it? This particular life of mine, the work I do, my relationships, what would it look like if it's really, really good? And so the motivators came out of that. I had written a column for Real Simple magazine for a few years, and it was called The Motivator. And when that ended, I decided I was going to keep on doing it and do it every week. So that's how I got into it, and I ain't quitting.
Well, I hope not. I don't know what I do on Monday mornings. But and how can they sign up for your motivators, your Monday morning motivators?
You can go on my site, Gail at Gail Blanke, just gailblanke.com, gailblanke.com, Blanke, and sign up for the motivators. And we have over 10,000 people reading them. We don't know how many people they forward them to, but I'm thinking, okay, this is a stretch goal. Am I getting the world to stop focusing on what's bad and focusing on what's good? But I'm making progress thanks to the people who read these motivators and share them with other people.
One motivator at a time.
One person, one motivator at a time.
I love it. Now, really, 600, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's an awful lot. How do you come up with your ideas? I mean, I used to do a newsletter, and I finally stopped. It was like, okay, I'm dry. I have nothing else to offer here.
Well, I tell you, this has been an illuminating experience for me. I have learned a lot. And the reason I've learned a lot is because in order to come up with these, I have to pay attention. I have to listen to people. I have to observe. I have to pay attention to what's going on in the world, so I have to read a lot. And I also, it's been illuminating just in terms of my own self-awareness, because it's good to know about the things you write about, And so I pay attention to what's going on with me, the things I get worked up about that I don't have to get worked up about, thinking I have to be perfect when I don't have to, all the stuff that we all do to ourselves. So it's been about listening, learning, and paying attention to people.
Some of your ideas are, I mean, you will take the most, I don't want to say mundane, the most simple thing, and create an entire perspective that no one has even, well, I won't say no one, but I certainly had never even thought about. What talent, I mean, have you always been able to do that? Is that a coach in training? Is that a businesswoman who knows how to make the best of, how do you do that?
Well, you know, what I do in terms of my mission and for a living is I'm a motivational speaker, and I'm a coach. I coach people inside corporations. I coach people outside. I work with teams. And in order to be effective at that, I have to pay attention and I have to listen. And in order to move people, in order to enable them to be as good as they can imagine it, part of my mission is to enable people to know that they are so much more powerful, so much better, so much more necessary to the world than they have any idea. So revealing that to themselves is what I do. And it's, as we were saying a few minutes ago, it's really all the little things that add up. It's not necessarily the big major thing. It's the little things that we have control over. And those are the things I keep my eye open for.
Well, it's funny because today we have had nothing but technical difficulties from the minute we walked in. And I finally said to Gail, okay, make this go better. How can we make this better? And we decided, well, we're getting a lot of good practice saying the same thing over and over again. And we're, you know, by now we're totally relaxed in the camera. We don't even know it's there. So that worked out well. Do you have an example? Because I mean, I could sit here and say, these are so great. Do you have an example of where you took something and made it into something better? I'm sure you have.
Well, that is, again, part of, it's one thing for me to say, how good could you make it? But then you could say, yeah, great. With all the bad stuff around there, how do I make it good? And it's not really that hard. Number one is you let go of concentrating on how bad everything is. And that means that you have to put some discipline in your life, and that means you have to delete some stuff in terms of what you pay attention to. And it's hard. That means you might turn off the television set and say, you know what, I don't want to know about this. I don't want it in my mind. The thing is that in the end, we are what we think about. You know, we think we are what we eat, and you know, that's true too, but we are what we think about. So you've got to be careful of the stuff you allow in. So you got to press that delete button. So that's number one.
I think that's kind of like the world is as we see it. It's not really, that is not as it is, it's just how we see it.
It's how, that's precisely right. Yeah. And the second thing is you've got to look for the good stuff. Just keep your eye open for the good stuff. It wasn't very long ago, my husband Jim and our golden retriever Willow, we go in Central Park every morning. We run around the reservoir. And I happened to look, there had been a heavy rain. There was a great big luscious mud puddle there. And there was a darling sparrow just fluttering and, you know, peeping and everything. She was so cute. And pretty soon this little girl came over, probably about 3 1/2. And she started jumping the way little people do. You know, they jump up and down, and when they land with both feet hard on the puddle so that it splashes as far as it can. She was jumping and jumping and jumping and squealing just like the sparrow. And I thought, boy, this is good. This is the cutest thing I've ever seen. And the day just got better and better. I ran into a little boy who was throwing a softball, and I used to work for the Yankees, and I know when somebody's got a good arm, and this guy was just putting it right down the middle, powerful arm, and I said, you're going to be a baseball player, aren't you? And he said, I think so. He was about 10.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, a pitcher, right? He said, yeah, I think so. I said, I know so. And I wanted to just, you know, give him that little bit. So you've got to look for the little things. So that's the second thing.
You might not be able to cure world hunger or all of the craziness that's going on right now, but it's like little stuff. It has a boomerang and a ripple effect.
All those little things add up. They really do. In fact, it is the little things in life And if you can decide not to look at the stuff that depresses you and concentrate on the stuff that thrills you, even the little thrills. And the thing then that I think is terribly important is you can make good stuff happen. You know, we want to have our eye open for stuff that's already there that could thrill us, but you can make good stuff happen too. And here's an example that I wrote a motivator about. I called it, It's Not About the Shoes. And it's when I had bought this ridiculously expensive pair of shoes. I didn't even get them on sale. I don't know what made me do it. But anyway, I did. And I'd worn them on this particular day, and I went out because I needed to get home, and it was pouring down rain, torrential. And so I did that thing that sometimes we do when you say, okay, I know I'm going to get a cab. I'm going to will a cab to happen.
Visualize.
You know, I know it's going to. And the amazing thing is, a cab pulled up in front of my work building, and a woman got out, said to me, "Nice shoes," and
just for verification.
She said, "Here's your cab." I said, "Oh, thank you." Leap into the cab, speed up Madison Avenue towards 88th Street, where we live, and we get to about 63rd or 64th Street, stopped at a light, and I just looked out the corner, the window, and I saw this guy with a dog. He was about 30, very cute guy, holding what looked like a golden lab or a golden retriever wrapped in a blanket, and he had this very worried look on his face. The light changed, we race up Madison Avenue, and I said to the cab driver, "Hey, did you see that guy with the dog?" And he said, "Yep." I said, "Can you please pull over?" And he pulled over, and I said, "I got to go back and get that guy with the dog, because I think they have to go to the animal medical center. I think that dog is sick." And so he said, I said, "Whatever you do, don't let anybody else get this cab, okay?" He said, "Okay." So I run back 3 blocks.
That's amazing, yes.
I run back 3 blocks, and I said to this guy, "I've got your cab. Come on, let's go get it." So we go back to, and this is a miracle in New York, when you see a cab driver standing outside the cab in the pouring down rain, holding the door open for the guy with the dog. They get in, close the door, speed up Madison Avenue, and so there I was, pouring down rain, brand new, too expensive shoes, and you know that squishing sound that shoes make when they're just drenched? Well, I squished my way up to 88th Street, walked into our apartment, and our younger daughter said, "Oh, Mom, what happened? You're a mess. And look at your new shoes." And I said, "Yeah, but see, the thing is, I saw this guy with a dog." Okay, the thing is, I felt like $1 million that day. It didn't matter. It was not about the shoes. I felt like I made a good thing happen. And so that set me up for the week.
And you never knew the result.
No, I don't know what happened. I hope it all worked out with that dog.
But it's the inner feeling that you get, and where you know you're making your day better.
Yeah.
And meaningful.
And again, that's a little thing, but it's the littles that all add up. I tell you about the guy on the plane, right?
The pilot?
Yeah, well, because this is how people make good stuff happen. I was flying to Atlanta, or I was trying to fly to Atlanta, and from LaGuardia, and the flight, we had been sitting on the plane for 45, 50 minutes, and people were starting to get really ticked off. They were thinking about the meetings they were missing, the stuff. It was just really annoying. And this guy next to me was eating a pastrami sandwich, which he got all over my part of the thing and everything. And so it was really bad. Then pretty soon this guy comes on the speaker system, and he said, this is your captain speaking. I'm Captain Miller. And I got some great news for you. We're going to take off at some point, I guarantee it. And I want you to know we're going to get you there on time, because I'm going to fly the paint off of this thing, and we're going to land in Atlanta just when we should, okay? Meanwhile, here's a little something to take your mind off it. And he started playing the harmonica. And he played, it was, for a minute I thought it was, Bob Dylan. He started playing, or Billy Joel playing. He was just wonderful. He played all this wonderful music. And people just started listening, and he would end one song, and before he started another, everybody in the plane started applauding. And I have a really good whistle, so I did my whistle between my two fingers. There were people cheering, and the mood in the plane just completely shifted.
On one person.
Just because this guy made it good. He made it good. And I mean, this shows what you can do if you, and I wrote a motivator about that, of course. I called it Flying High.
Her titles are almost as good as the motivators, yes. No, the other one, It's Not About the Shoes, that one always sticks in my head. And I thought about her the other day when I was sloshing around, and I went, it's not about the shoes,
no,
go do something cool.
There's other stuff, yeah.
Absolutely. In the scheme of life, the shoes are not going to be that important.
No.
Well, tell me something. How do you use this? How do you use this with I know you work with teams. I know you work with businesses. How do you use this? Is it a philosophy or a practice? How do you use this with people, with groups of people? How do you get them stimulated?
I think that this attitude flows through all the work I do in whatever medium I'm in, whether it's writing or speaking, coaching, whatever it is. And that is that this is where the choice card comes in. In the end, you get to decide. You get to decide what you think about. You get to decide what good looks like in your life. And I wrote a book a few books ago called Between Trapezes. And the publisher called me at one point and said, Gail, we have one too many white pages in the back of the book. Can you just write something to, because you've got, I said, all right, sure, all right, how long do I have? She said, you get 45 minutes. And so I said, okay.
45 minutes.
Yeah, so here's what I wrote, and it just poured out, because I guess it was my philosophy. I wrote, there is no way it is. There's only the way you say it is. The universe hasn't made its mind up about you. It only knows what you show it today. You are the inventor, and your life is the invention. You get to make it up, so make it up good. You get to make it up.
That's amazing. I know Dr. Wayne Dyer, I think it's 10 Secrets of Success, and his last one is, wisdom is knowing what thoughts to avoid. And
it's really good.
It's like, okay, and you've made me question something that I do as a coach, and it's like, sometimes when people are going, oh my God, I'm afraid to do this, I'll go, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? And then I make them go through that, and then it's like, okay, that's neutralized. But now you've made me think that maybe I should go, what's the best thing that could happen?
Yeah,
and
what would it look like if it were really, really good? Because that's what drives us, is the vision of what good would look like. Oh, and one other thing that I work with people on all the time is understanding the difference between fact and interpretation in your life. Okay, we make ourselves miserable for no reason at all. Something happens, somebody says something, what do we make it mean? Lots of times, because we're human, we slap a negative interpretation on it. Like, for example, they don't answer your email, right? What do you make it mean? Well, you probably don't make it mean, oh, I bet they really love my idea. You probably make it mean, maybe that wasn't such a hot idea. And then you might say, I don't know, maybe this whole thing I'm out for isn't really that good, And then depending on the day, you might say, maybe I'm not really that good. The only thing that happened was they didn't answer your email.
That's the fact.
So here's what we do. We say, why wait to be unhappy when I can be unhappy now, right? I'll just go ahead and I'll save time, I'll be efficient, I'll go ahead and be unhappy now. And so the good thing is to put positive interpretations on the things somebody says, and something happens. You'll find out ultimately, perhaps, what it is, but don't make yourself, don't disempower yourself or weaken yourself by slapping these negative interpretations on the stuff that happens. You start practicing that in your life, boy, you will see a huge change. It's just little bitty things.
I remember you told a story about when you were on the Oprah show, and Oprah went into the audience. Could you condense that down a little and tell us, because that's a prime example of you going, oh my God, Oprah hates me.
Yeah,
well, she was the only guest on there, but anyway.
Yeah, this is a book called In My Wildest Dreams that I wrote, and so I was the only guest on the show for the full hour, and she called the show In My Wildest Dreams. But when I went, they were very rushed with a whole lot of things that they were doing, and I had to spend an hour and a half in the green room by myself. You know what can happen in an hour and a half? You forget everything you ever knew in an hour and a half. And so finally, and so I didn't have a chance to talk to Oprah ahead of time or get to know her or anything. Go out onto the set. There are these two big yellow chairs there, and Oprah was sitting in one. And again, I hadn't met her or anything, so I sort of stood there and I put my hand out and I said, "Hi, I'm Gail." And she said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Good, how you doing?" She said, "Good." I said, "Good." You know, she didn't ask me to sit down, right? So I stood there, and then she said these three words that are needle pointed onto a pillow in my office by a friend of mine. She said to the director, "Get the bench." And I thought, fact and interpretation. Fact, she said, "Get the bench." I thought, what does that mean? Get the bench. Oh, that probably means, you know, get the hook or something.
I was going to say just like get the hook.
Yeah, get the hook. I'm not doing the show with this chick. That's probably what that means. These guys come in, they take off the two big yellow chairs. They bring on a big yellow bench. She says, "You sit on the bench. I'm going into the audience." Well, Oprah tells you to do something, you do it, right? So I sat down on the bench. I looked out in the audience. One of my daughters was there, and she goes like this. And I go like that back. Okay, I'm sitting there on the bench. The producer comes over and says, "Okay, Gail, get this show on the road. Come on, get going." And I thought, what am I doing here? And my interpretation of sitting on a bench by myself was, the first one was, Oprah doesn't like me.
She doesn't even want to sit by me.
She doesn't want to sit by me or anything. Second one was, that wasn't a good one. The second interpretation was, well, that's not very nice of her. That wasn't good either. So I had to come up with another one. And here's the one I came up with. I just made it up. I made up the other two, right? Oh, Oprah trusts me. And then I thought, if Oprah trusts me, who the heck am I not to trust myself? So I did what we all do in situations like that. I just started talking. Sometimes you just have to start talking. And I did. And pretty soon I got up off the bench and moved through the audience, and Oprah joined me, and it turned out to be just terrific. But can you imagine if I'd gone with Oprah doesn't like me and imploded and just, you know, sat there and thought what was one of my first reactions, whatever made me think I was good enough to be on Oprah? I mean, that's one of the things that floated through my mind. So watch it. Don't big things, little things. Make it up good.
And I love that that is, as we said, your choice. You can make it whatever you want it to be. And I think that's the beauty of the Monday Morning Motivators. It's like, okay, here's what I did with a tiny little thing, and gave a whole new perspective to maybe an entire day, an entire week, whatever the case may be. And you can do it too. And you had the 3 steps, which you told them, you know, and it's like, okay, you know, get that positive thing going. I love the question, how good can we make it? And by we, it sounds like it's a team effort.
Well, I think it's how good could you make it? How good can I make it? If anything were possible, and that's if anything were possible, what would that look like? I mean, why not go the full Monty of what good would look like in your life, particularly stepping into 2015? And it's also how good could we make it? And I work with a lot of teams and companies on this. How good could we make it together? What would that look like? If we collaborated, if we brought our best selves into a new game and a new year, imagine what we could create together. And wouldn't that be fun to do it together? And it's amazing when people start listening to each other and talking about what good would look like for them on this team, in this company, whatever it is you do, and what they could uniquely bring to that to help make it happen. And then they get excited, because when you say how good, and you say, okay, you want to know what good looks like? I'll tell you what it is. And if it's really good, people say, whoa, why couldn't we do that? And then you find the courage to do it by taking a look at the times you pulled it out of the fire before. And you say, hey, if we could do that, are you kidding? What else could we do? And then it's not work anymore. It turns out to be fun.
Fun, and that's my motto. If it's not fun, why am I doing it?
Yeah.
But let me play devil's advocate. If you say, how good could it be, and you shoot for the stars, or I guess I should say if you shoot for the moon, and we can use that old cliche thing, and it doesn't quite, it falls short, then what do you do? Then what
Yeah,
do you
but
have
look
to
how
do?
much further you were than you would have been.
Exactly. It's like a rocket
So you've
boost.
made some progress, and you will have learned. I heard I was in a corporation speaking a few weeks ago, and one of the women who worked there was reminiscing about some of the stuff that she's learned in her work life. She's really terrific, Gal, and she said, "Well, here's the thing. I don't always win, but I never lose because I always learn."
Oh, I love
Isn't that good?
Brilliant.
Oh, it gives me a chill.
Seriously.
I never lose. I don't always win it, but I never lose
Never
because I
lose.
always learn.
It's always, and I do that. That's kind of a theme when I'm coaching people. It's like, okay, whatever you're doing, make it information gathering. You know, that's it's for your benefit. Whatever you're doing, even if you're going for a job interview, make an information gathering.
No experience is ever wasted. The
should
good
not
stuff,
be
the
ever
bad
wasted,
stuff.
yes.
There's always something that puts you further ahead, even if
Yes.
it's a struggle. Sometimes that's when, of course, we have a tendency to learn the most and realize how gutsy we actually are.
My favorite coaching mantra is the solutions in the struggle, and it's like if you're walking along in paradise, you're not you're enjoying, I hope, but you're not learning anything. But if you're struggling, it's like, okay, the lessons are going to come many times over, and you can pick and choose, you know, how you want to resolve that.
Now, I ask people to go back into their lives and look at the defining moments in their lives, and that's a moment when you maybe pulled it out of the fire, but it also could be a moment when you fell down and got back up again. And you start looking at those moments. You go back to when you were little, go back to this morning, and you'll find that you start looking at those things and you think, God, how did I do it? It's probably not the time you cured world hunger. It is the time you fell down and got back up again. And you share those with, it's a good thing to do at the beginning of the year. Share it with the people you love. We do that in our family every year as we approach a new year.
Defining moments?
Yeah, we share our defining
like
moments
that.
from the year before. And sometimes it's funny, and sometimes it's very moving.
They're not always good, I'm sure.
But it's a
That's
tough
the
thing, and
successes,
then we say to each other, hey, are you kidding? If you could do that, I mean, you move forward anyway. What else could you do? And you find that, that you are unstoppable. And you celebrate those moments with each other. You want to get to know somebody? Listen to their defining moments. You could be married to somebody for 25 years, but you may not know their defining moments. It's wonderful. I invite you to do it.
And I invite you, since we only have a few seconds left, I invite you to share this with anyone that you care about or anyone that you think might need some motivation. I guarantee they're going to enjoy every one, but I guarantee there will be one in there that will really zing. Gail Blanke, I am so thrilled that we are starting out 2015 on the coaching game with you. Thank you for being
Thanks,
my
Laurie.
guest.
Thank you
were
very
wonderful.
much.
Thank
Loved
you.
being here.